Hello and welcome to episode 166 of Sutton and Back Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm sequestered Bill. And I'll kind of start the show off with my perspective on where sports is right now.
Okay.
I'm optimistic the NFL plays no fewer than 12 or up to 16. Probably start late. Probably have to play in February. I'm not saying full stadiums, but I'm not saying empty stadiums either. I'm saying maybe it's a 50-50. Maybe it's half stadium full. Or you start with a quarter stadium full and move to a half and see what you do. That's not going to make anybody happy, but it's better than not being able to go at all.
Well, football is football works on TV really well, though. I mean, I don't like going to football.
Football works on TV, yeah. And football needs the TV money, and they'll get it, and they'll do the whole. I think they'll play 16 games as long as they want to play. You can play the Super Bowl in February because you don't have to worry about what else is going on in the stadium in Tampa because it's nothing.
Yeah.
So they can still play in March and have Super Bowl in March. You can do all that. Baseball, they're talking about 100 games. I'm probably talking 80 games and a late start, and maybe playing more doubleheaders than they've ever played. Just because you don't want to drag, you can't really play in November in baseball. It's just not what you want to do.
No.
But I can see that coming, and I can see, I think they finally scrapped the playing in Arizona and Texas and Florida, and I think they're going to play. The idea about three 10-team divisions, all in the same geographical zone, I think that's doable. I think they could do that, minimize the travel, but you're still going to kind of have a bubble, a biosphere kind of thing for afterwards. So.
What about hockey and basketball finishing their seasons?
Basketball's talking about playing in Orlando and Las Vegas.
Right.
And I'm just mature enough to know that if you just think you're going to quarantine NBA players in Las Vegas, you're dreaming. So I don't see that as an option. I can see it happening in Orlando, but you only got a couple courts, so I don't know how that works out either. So you need to have another place. You can't go to Miami.
No.
So I don't know where the other place is. Maybe it's Dallas. Maybe it's Jerry's World playing on big courts down there. I don't know. But they'll do something. They'll play some games or a tournament or something. But really, all the sports, MLS could probably start back up, and they could, if they were willing to play in the wintertime, they could probably get their season in. Hockey will probably do the same kind of thing as either the NBA or baseball geographically. Little League World Series is gone. Anything involving global players or global travel is dead. Kentucky Derby's pushed back to the fall. The Masters is already in the fall. I wish I could say these things are going to happen, but there's still so much unknown. With this half opening up, whatever, I think 30-some states are going to have some type of opening this week. And do I expect coronavirus to go up? Sure. And do I expect deaths to go up? Sure. But is it going to be, are you going to be able to deal with a lot of the other things? I don't know. I mean, a lot of it's going to happen on what happens this next couple of weeks. Where we go from here, do we get locked back up? Or do we say this is a constant doing business and we move forward? I don't know.
Well, I wish people had in general, and people can take as much offense to this as like something above a fourth grade education level in general, because this is a hepatotopic and a neurotoxic virus, not a flu. It has severe respiratory issues. It's not about the death count. People keep wanting to display the death count. The death count's terrible. But it's really about long-term effects. And we don't know if somebody's infected this year, if it's a small child, how that affects their lungs and their capacity to breathe and all those sorts of things moving forward. It's a way bigger issue than people seem to grasp. And that's the annoying part.
Yeah, but, and as this is going on, I've seen more and more of the economic side. And, as much as we would like to say, well, people should have enough money to tough it out, I saw that only 18% of the United States population
right, and
could go for 6 months. And that's just not going to happen. I mean,
but that's on.
There'll be civil war. There'll be everything else. You're going to have some kind of business where people can make money.
But But that's the trickle down economics that's been perpetrated since Kennedy was assassinated. Like that's what's been
But
happening.
that's what we have, though. I mean, we can't go anywhere. People don't have money. They can't have food. They can't do anything.
Right.
So therefore, it's going to be a mess. So they're going to have to do this. They're going to have to do the things they're opening up now. And then we're going to have to see where it goes. I mean, we don't have a choice. This is the world we live in. And so there's going to be a price.
Right, but it's a world we make up all the rules for. It's like being a child in a room making up rules for a game. Like, we made all the rules. We can change all the rules.
Yeah, all the rules are done.
We can change them all. That's
all the rules are done.
But we made them up. We can change them again. So hopefully that'll lead to some changes as well.
But we don't have time to change it. We can have to change them for 3 years from now, but you can't change them now. That's the problem.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. What would you say? I mean, you can't. You got to have more food in the food banks. The farmers have to have somewhere to put their crop. There's a lot of stuff that has to get done. I don't know what's going to happen. So they're going to experiment. And they're experimenting with lives and health. And that's never had to happen before, but it's happening now. But this is a show about sports and entertainment, so let's get back to it.
Okay.
So you and I both watched Bad Education.
Yes.
With Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney?
Allison Janney, the tall lady. Yes. And Ray Romano.
And Ray Romano. Who surprises me in those roles.
He's very good.
Because he was in The Irishman, too.
Yeah.
You know, I got to admit, though, Jason, I saw too much of Everybody Loves Raymond. That his voice, when I hear his voice, I automatically think of that character and those characters surrounding him. But it's to his credit, he does a good job. I just have a hard time. You know, he's like typecast for me. It's hard for me to see him as anything else. But he did a decent job.
That's how I feel even with a lot of these castings now, where I know people love stars and celebrity and people they know. But I think it takes away sometimes when you put, you know, you're just doing who's the next famous person we can put in a cape. Because I think, you know, then I feel like I'm watching a Halloween party and not. I mean, it's harder to, like you said, people bring their baggage to it. And he definitely does. And again, I think he does a great job from an acting standpoint. But I mean, like you, like I hear comedians doing his voice. I hear Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, and that's a great problem to have.
Giving it away, how would you describe that? How would you recommend the story? Did you believe in it? Did you think it was a good film?
I was entertained. I was fascinated to see what happened. I thought they did a good job with the reveal. I thought the acting was fantastic. You know, it's a shame all the stuff that happens and everything else, but I mean, I thought they did a really good job. You know, from what you know, our mom, your wife, my mom, obviously did a deep dive because that's what she does when she's interested in something. It sounds like they also did a pretty good job overall of portraying what happened. Like, you know, like in all movies, like instead of an entire reporting staff, you turn that reporting staff into one character as opposed to 9 characters just because it makes it easier from a storytelling standpoint. But otherwise, I think they stuck pretty close.
Yeah, it is a fascinating story because it's hard to believe. It's not hard to believe that could happen. It's hard to believe that could happen to that magnitude and not get caught until substantially a lot of money was gone. So those of you who don't know, it's about an embezzlement scenario in a school district in Long Island. It's true, and you can read about it. But it was very well done. It got a lot of attention. You know, it's one thing to say the trailers were real enticing.
They were.
The trailers were very enticing. So I watched that last night, and then I had already seen it before, but Mom and Janet had not seen it. The Suspicions of Mr. Witcher, which I talked about before.
Yes.
It's like 4 episodes. The very first one is based upon a true story that happened in 1860 when he's a detective for Scotland Yard, and it is really, really well done. So if you've got Amazon Prime, The Suspicions of Mr. Witcher, and I think it's the Something Hill episode, it's the very first episode. It's based on a true story, and it's a very, very engrossing story. But I would definitely recommend that. And then Sharon and I are watching Longmire, and we watched the first season of that, and we're pretty enthralled by it. It's a sheriff in a small community in Wyoming with a Native American reservation in there, and so the interplay between the city and the reservation and everything that happens. It's really interesting. But I also have to be realistic. I know it's a TV show, but like when In the Heat of the Night was a TV show, there had to be more crime in a small town of Sparta, Mississippi than there was in New York
Yeah.
per capita. And so this one, I mean, every week, there's a different crime. So and it's never like robbery. It's a murder or whatever it is. And so that's kind of, if you let that go, it's okay. And then a lot of enjoyment reading Stephen King, If It Bleeds.
Okay.
The four novellas three of them are very, very well done. One I didn't really care for, but the other three are really, really well done. And they evoke a little Edgar Allan Poe. They evoke a little earlier Stephen King, a little Lovecraft, but they're really, really well done. They're fun. And I could definitely see a movie or two out of this series of novellas. But really, really well done. Have you gotten it yet?
I have not, no.
No, it's good. They're the novellas that you like, so you'll enjoy it.
Okay. Well, I ignored Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb score and I watched Fantasy Island, the movie. It's another Blumhouse, and Blumhouse makes pretty much... I don't think you can make a horror movie that's not associated with Blumhouse currently, it seems like. I would say I found this movie kind of frustrating because I thought you took an old weird TV show from the 70s or 60s, 70s, and you were applying it to a horror movie. And basically, Fantasy Island, the plot is you go to this island and your fantasy comes true. But as they say, you have to live out your fantasy all the way to the end. And your fantasy isn't always going to be exactly what you thought it was going to be, sort of a deal with the devil sort of situation. So I think there was enough there to make a cool movie. It's just they didn't really pull it off. But they did set themselves up at the end. Like they somewhat brought Tattoo back at the end. Not a tiny person, but another guy who's short, who just had the word tattoo tattooed on his body. So,
okay.
I think they were trying to go franchise, but like I said, I think they dropped the ball on this one. I was talking to Mom a little bit offline. We've been Maria's never seen Breaking Bad, so we've been rewatching Breaking Bad. We're down to the last 2 episodes now. And I thought it was a great show the first time. It's still an excellent show. But I do know, I'm trying to remember back to how I felt when I watched, because I watched it in real time when it was on A&E or AMC, whenever it was back in the day. But I find myself being much more sympathetic to characters I didn't really like the first time through.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's being I don't know if that's being older and wiser or just catching things this time through, but it just, it's weird, but I'm relating to that. I think I'm relating to the characters you're probably supposed to relate to more, or at least feel bad for more so than rooting on
Okay.
our protagonist / villain, if you will.
So what's next on your viewing list?
We have a couple in mind. I think the next thing we want to watch is Apple TV has Defending Jacob with Chris Evans, set in Boston, and I think he's a teacher himself, and his son is accused of murder. And it looks like one of those like nice little mini series, like did the kid do it? Did the kid not do it? Kid was seen with a knife. You can watch the trailer. It's a really, much like with Bad Education, Defending Jacob's a really good trailer. I think it really pulls you in. And then I'm struggling to remember the name of it right now, but we've also been watching, it's another Apple TV original show we stuck with. It's about a 9-year-old girl who's also a detective, but it's not played like a children's show on Nickelodeon or something like you would think. She's investigating her dad was basically a reporter for the New York Times. He was obsessed with the case, went wrong, he got fired, he lost his confidence, so they moved back to his hometown, and now sort of his past is coming back when one of his childhood friends is murdered and his 9-year-old daughter is investigating it, with his full support and with the support of another cop, which is sort of weird. But I am intrigued enough to see where the story goes and what the murder was all about, even though it's weird that it's a 9-year-old doing all the investigating.
Right. That sounds interesting, though.
It's not bad, and I think it's just one season, which is, I wouldn't become invested in this show if it's multiple years, or at the very least, I think it would be one of those almost serialized, like, here's episode, this season, this is the case. And then if they brought it back for another season, it would be a different case. So you wouldn't be, you wouldn't feel like you were left with all these questions. And we finished Little Fires Everywhere, the Reese Witherspoon show.
And how was it?
It was really bad.
Okay, good.
I think
then I won't bother.
I think between that and the morning show and then the debacle of Big Little Lies season 2, Meryl Streep's performance withstanding, she's been on a real cold streak after being pretty good, Reese. It's much like the morning show. It's a show that thinks it's giving all these big topics, but it comes off as like you're watching almost like a really good soap opera. And I think if they had embraced it as like, this is the best Lifetime movie you're ever going to watch, or miniseries, as opposed to, just this heavy piece that they think that they've got that they just don't have. And I know my opinion, that was my opinion, but then there's The Ringer does TV Concierge, and they made fun of that show as well, because it's genuinely pretty bad. Despite Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon and a really good cast, like it's bad. But I do like that she is trying to bring books to life. So I admire that aspect of it. But we've been thinking Better Call Saul, Defending Jacob. I still want to watch The Expanse. I keep threatening to watch that over and over again, and I'm not sure why I haven't yet. It's supposed to be a really good Amazon sci-fi show, and I like sci-fi. I will say the caveat, I think the reason I haven't watched it is it's one of those shows that started out on the Sci-Fi Network, and then it was picked up by Amazon for the last 4 seasons. And I've heard the first season is nowhere near as good as the last 4. The last 4 is when it's become like prestige. You have to watch this television. But you can't not watch the first season. So, you know how that goes.
Yep. Well, I'm going to watch episodes 5 and 6 tonight of The Last Dance, which I think is just extremely, extremely well done and very, very accurate. Because it's real. I mean, it was just filmed during that time. It's not a series. It's just real video that's put together and just really, really done well. It also emphasizes to me that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Now,
for a number of reasons, not just his talent.
Now, you watched Jordan when Jordan happened, right?
Yeah, and I discount, Washington Wizard Jordan, he was still okay, but he wasn't Jordan.
Do you think someone...
Jordan in this.
So now let's say what's a good age? Let's say you're 19 years old, 20 years old watching this documentary. So you never got to see Jordan in his prime. Would this sway you on the argument, you think? Or...
I think it'll open your eyes. I mean, this is the ultimate competitor.
Oh, yeah.
And as this thing goes on, you're going to see, I'm not saying he's a great guy either. I mean, he's just the ultimate competitor. And I mean, if you didn't want to play at the level he expected you to play at, he was going to ridicule your ass and throw you out of the gym if you were on his team. And he was going to humiliate you if you were on the other team.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, just unbelievable. So, I mean, I'm really excited about tonight. I think tonight, last week kind of teased into that. But last week the focus was really on 2 things. The Dennis Rodman saga and kind of the Isaiah Thomas Bad Boys Pistons when they walked off without shaking hands and how that lingered and still lingers to this day. In fact, in the current interviews, Michael Jordan just says, that was Bush, I don't like him, and whatever it is. And then so this week people were trying to say, was that why Isaiah wasn't on the Dream Team? And there's people like Rod Thorne at the NBA office that no, that's not an issue. Nobody ever said anything. But if you watch this show, you know it's exactly what happened, that there's no way. You figure this, Chuck Daly was the coach, that he was Isaiah Thomas' coach.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get him on the team. Why do you think he couldn't get him on the team?
And he was Isaiah.
One player in the world who could keep him off the team, and he did.
Yeah. And those rumors have been...
It's a great show.
Yeah, and Isaiah was one of the best players in the league at that point, so...
Yeah, but he just wasn't likable. He was a jerk.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Michael Jordan just didn't go for it, so... switching to food for a minute. I've been trying to do like some Gold Belly once every week or 2 weeks. And they've had some amazing, amazing deals on Gold Belly. So this week they had Pat's cheesesteaks from Philly. Buy 4, get 4 free. those being delivered, I think, Thursday or Friday. So I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into a Philly cheesesteak this week.
Now, you said those come, are they in pieces or are they fully in, like?
You know what? I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I know the rolls are separate. And I think, I don't know if the meat was cooked or he had cooked meat. I don't even remember.
Oh, okay.
But the cheese whiz, the onions, everything's there. So I'll let you know. I'll take a picture of it, post it on Twitter. But
yeah, because I was curious about, do the onions, can you get no onions, I guess, essentially?
yeah, you can get it without onions. You can get it with no cheese whiz. You can get another cheese instead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have a lot of options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I'll shout out, we did Banh Mi Boys yesterday. Like
Okay.
So I mean, first off, they make excellent chicken wings. So given my dietary needs, they did the chicken wings. But she had an excellent banh mi. It was like a spicy Thai shrimp. We have this famous, it's like a really light French bread, real crispy, really good, and it looked really good. And they had excellent packaging and support local, all that good stuff. But Banh Mi Boys in New Orleans, and pretty reasonably priced too. So.
Well, last night we did DoorDash from Surfside Tap Room, which you've been to.
Yes.
And you know what we had for dinner?
Milkshakes.
Yes. Mom told you.
Yeah, she did.
That's what we had, and they were amazing. They were some of the best milkshakes I've ever had.
And I had no idea they even had.
And I was just kind of in the craving for a milkshake, and it was like giant milkshakes, and that's all we needed to eat.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, Mom had some kind of coffee one. I had an almond chocolate one, and Jen had a chocolate-covered strawberry one.
Oh, and this week, as long as we're on food, down here it's Taco Loco, but there's two Taco Locos. This one is spelled like French Taco Loco, so Taceaux, and Loco the same way. They make just the best spicy brisket for their tacos, and it's just amazing.
Oh, good.
But I can't speak to the regular TACOLOCO. I only went in that restaurant once, and it smelled weird, so I left. But that may have been, maybe I should have given them a chance. But it's the one I'm referring to and referencing on is the EAXU on both the taco and loco. So if you're in the mood for good tacos, that's a spot that delivers here in New Orleans. So.
Well, I guess that's the show. We still have no sports to talk about. Hopefully we learn a little bit more this week and we talk a little bit more intelligently about sports. But we'll continue delving into entertainment, delving into food, and seeing where we go.
Yeah. All right, stay safe. Do what you can to support local, wear your masks, all that good stuff. And we're out.
Peace out.